and for the starting procedure, there will be yellow flags out before turn 2. We'll point out exactly where in a few moments' time when this formation lap gets underway. But the chicane we've mentioned, that tyre chicane, will be covered by yellow flags the entire time, much like the hairpin at the famous Macau circuit. So there will be no overtaking there. The driver's saying no chance of overtaking there anyway. But on the first lap of the race, the yellow flags will be out before turn 2. So they have to get themselves into single file through turn 2, through the chicane, and then the racing can continue. So let's have a look at how this grid is going to line up for the 4th round of the championship. You can see them there pulling away. Ferrari on the front row alongside the Lamborghini. 3rd position will be the BMW. Here we go then. There's the Ferrari on the inside, Lamborghini on the outside on the run down into turn 1. Then we've got the BMW and the Mercedes. Here's a perfect illustration of the 7 brands in the top 7 positions. Then we get our first repeat in 8th position, which is the Mercedes of Thomas Jaeger, who will be starting that car. Then the first McLaren, Fred Makovic in 9th place. He's going to be one to watch. He's going to be quick. Stefan Ortelli's going to be quick in his Lamborghini. We're also excited to see how Stefan Racina does. He didn't really get much of a chance to shine at his home circuit yesterday. Unfortunately, Benjamin Lariche will not be starting that Porsche. We saw it in the garage. There's the chicane. There'll be no overtaking there at all during the race, but it hasn't affected the racing. It didn't affect the racing at all, actually, yesterday. It did its job perfectly, and after concern coming into this weekend, it's become a bit of a non-event.
Yes, indeed, and when we did some laps of the circuit yesterday in a Mercedes-Benz SLS, in spite of the chicane going over the crest, you can still sense that the car is getting light, not getting airborne. That was the concern. Nevertheless, it's a quick chicane, and it probably takes 15-20 miles an hour or whatever that is in kilometers off the car's speed, indicating just how sensitive the drop off on the I call it Flugplatz, which is in effect what it is. It's the flyover over one of the access tunnels, and there's 3 of them around the racetrack.
Yep, even the one down the back straight, we were still getting a little bit light, weren't we, as well? So, and in case you haven't seen the footage again on YouTube, it's not a concern that the front of these cars will lift off. It's a fact, because in FIA GT3 last year, the front ends were going up on the various cars, and if you get air under a racing car, it's always a bit of a dangerous position. And these cars lapping 3-4 seconds a lap quicker, I think. Well, they're similar lap times with the chicane than last year, so it's a very real possibility.
Getting air under a car is dangerous.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well,
if you think of all the great races that have been held on the Nürburgring, 2 places there, Flugplatz, Flansgarden, if you didn't have at least a foot of air under your wheels, not under the chassis, you weren't at the races.
Michael Bartels is at the races. He's looking forward to today's action. His teammates starting 3rd on the grid. They won the qualifying race in Zolder, then finished 2nd in the championship race, but yet to pick up a championship race win this season. In fact, we have had no one win more than one championship race so far, or qualifying race, so it really is anyone's guess. Will we have our first repeat winner? That would only happen if Mike Halliday and Mike Parisi win the race from 5th on the grid. So it's such a varied season. It's provided some fantastic racing. Yesterday's race was excellent, and I hope today's is going to be no different.
I mean, a part of the excellence that we saw was in doubt. The weather changed the outcome of the race, and we had a virtual performance from Thomas Enger in the Lamborghini. Others, great drives as well. Whether we will get rain or not right now, looking skyward, it is grey. In fact, it's greyer at this moment than it was 24 hours ago.
The cars are in 2x2 formation. The 4th round of the GT1 World Championship is about to get underway. The championship race will begin when the lights turn green on the start-finish straight. The Ferrari on the left-hand side of the screen there is on pole position. The white Lamborghini is alongside him. That's Thomas Enger. It's BMW and Mercedes on the 2nd row. They wait for the lights to go green here at the Slovakia ring, and away we go. It's a very good start from the Porsche, slicing through the middle on the run down into turn 1. Fantastic camera angle. It's almost 4 abreast as we come down into the first corner, but the Ferrari has held it. It's almost 5 abreast. In fact, the Ford GT is trying to squeeze through. Great start from Marcus Winkelhock. He's up into 2nd position. The Porsche, after a great start, has now lost out. Yellow flags will be out on the run into turn 2, so they've got to sort themselves into single file now before they reach the chicane. There you can see the yellow flags, so this will give us an opportunity. Ferrari leads, Mercedes 2nd, Ford 3rd, Lamborghini Thomas Enger down into 4th position off that start.
Well, you can barely catch your breath, and how they sorted themselves out into turn 2 and how they determined where was the yellow flag. Well, they will have seen that, and did they get themselves into single file? But a very strong start indeed for GT in 2nd place.
Yeah, they got a great start in Navarra, and Milos Pavlovic has got another cracking start. Now they're into the middle twisty part of the section, which is where the Porsche in particular really finds its struggles. These long radius corners that never feel like they're going to end at certain points. Here's Fred Makovicky then. He's putting Stefan Racina under some pressure into turn 9. Not quite able to get past. That's actually Thomas Enger, I apologise. And Racina is a little bit further back. You can see him challenging Enzo Ede. There he goes.
Yeah,
the Audis have had a poor start.
Yeah, Rosina was actually one of the drivers that did put a big challenge on into turn 2. Oh, look at coming down the hill out of turn.
There
down
is
the inside.
Racina.
Rosina's having a go, and he looks up. Can he get it? No, he gets one car, gets the Ferrari. That's the car of Enzo Ede, but not the Audi.
Yeah, the Audi managed to come around the outside of both of them there, because Enzo Ede was so keen on defending that Stefan Ortelli made up 2 places. Now Thomas Jaeger is going to try and get past Enzo Ede as well. Down into the final corner they come. Fred Makovicky still trying to get past the Lamborghini. 3 abreast into the final corner almost. Still Ortelli holding on ahead of Stefan Racina, and then Enzo Ede in the Ferrari. But as they exit through the left-hand kink at turn 14, Felipe Salaquada has built up an 0.8 of a second advantage over Marcus Winkelhock in 2nd, Milos Pavlovic 3rd, Thomas Enger in 4th, Fred Makovicky in 5th, Jelmer Berman in 6th, coming under pressure from the Porsche of Matt Halliday. Halliday looks to the outside into turn 1. That's going to be a brave move if he can pull that off. He can't. You will now see the yellow flags have been retracted at turn 2, and the yellow flags will simply remain just before the chicane for the remainder of this race.
Matt Halliday had a long run down into turn 1 on the outside, the dirty part of the racetrack. Tried to go around the outside of Jelmer Berman, but no chance whatsoever. Into the chicane now, up the hill. Look at the Lamborghini up alongside the Ford, down the hill on the outside as he's got through.
Yeah, but is he going to go too deep into the corner? He is. They're going to be side by side.
Oh,
Pavlovic
contact.
out of shape, and they make contact. Round goes the Lamborghini. Hopefully everyone behind will avoid, but these two have dropped a long way down the field now. It was a good attempt, but the Ford GT just got out of shape as he was late on the brakes, and the two came together.
And a complete 360 for the Lamborghini, got going in the right direction, but damage to that car. You can see the pace at which it's limping back to the pits. Probably a puncture, hard just to tell in that photograph. So contact, and just in the exit of turn 3, the Lamborghini had the pace, had the track position. Just the fight back from the Ford was too much, and the contact occurred.
Yep, so Thomas Enger in the Lamborghini, after setting the quickest first sector of anyone on that lap, unfortunately will be creeping back to the pit lane. There's his teammate Stefan Racina cresting the hill. So it's now Stefan Ortelli starting to challenge Matt Halliday in the Porsche over, that's going to be like 5th position now, I think. And we'll obviously wait for confirmation when they come through, but now that those 2 cars have disappeared in front of them in the battle over 3rd and 4th, that should promote them up. Let's see what the lap times are then at the end of this first flying lap. I think Salaquada will have extended his lead over Marcus Winkelhock in the lead of the race. And a little late tentative look from Frank Stippler trying to get past Matthias Lauda, but he is not close enough yet. And Matt Halliday on the straights is where the Porsche is strong, and he begins to pull away. Salaquada extends the gap by 0.3 of a second now, but Fred Makovicky, through all that carnage, has managed to make his way up into 3rd position and was lapping at the same pace on that last lap.
Yeah, he's got clean of all the traffic around him. He's made use of the car. The pace of the car there is the second of the McLarens, and it is not running as de Moussier. This is a car that didn't get a lot of running this morning in the warm-up. They had some issues they had to deal with. They believe they'd got them all rectified. So let's look again and see this incident coming through the chicane up the hill. Lamborghini on the right-hand of track. He gets clear of the Ford, but because he runs slightly deep into the corner, it allows Pavlovic to come back. He then gets a snap oversteer, and overcorrection slams into the side of the Lamborghini. Poor Thomas Enger, having done nothing wrong, and to me pretty much everything correctly, he gets tagged in the side and he's out of the car.
Now look,
and the Ford's in with a rear puncture.
It's got a left rear puncture, and I think what happened was they made a little bit of contact first. That punctured the left rear car of the Ford, which got him out of shape and into the side of Thomas Enger. That's what it looked like on board.
But Thomas Enger is concerned because they want to send him back out. He's saying, no, the steering wheel is sort of 45 degrees from where it ought to be, and that's why they're going to have a look at that right front wheel.
Yep, so Here's Matt Halliday then in 5th position. Behind him, running wide in fact as well. This is where his teammate Mike Parisi went off in qualifying and damaged the front end of the Porsche. He's now got a lot of challenge behind him from Stefan Ortelli. Let's hear from Thomas Enger after that incident. What's he got to say? Down in the pits with Haley Coxon.
Thomas, can you fill us in what's happened and what the damage is on the Lamborghini?
Well, I think everybody saw it on TV. I don't need to comment it. Great job by Mr. Cressone.
So it wasn't your fault?
No. I left him a room. I tried to overtake outside. I mean, that's not the way it should go. But unfortunately, our rear wishbone is banned. The car was really great. I don't know what was he doing at the start because he just got into P3 on the start-finish straight, so he must have jump start as well. It is a real shame because we could have scored great points here. Shame.
Thank you.
It was Milos Pavlovic that the contact was between. Here comes the McLaren of Makovic round the outside of Marcus Winkelhock into turn 1 in the challenge for the 2nd place. He's got the cutback and Fred Makovic moves up into 2nd position in that McLaren.
Now that was an easy classic driver overtake maneuver, put the Mercedes under pressure, went to the very left side of the track not to pass into the corner but to get the drive off the corner, and the Mercedes being in the centre of the track didn't have the ability to get on the throttle as early as the McLaren. Makovic showed any potential racing driver how to make a classic overtake maneuver, sweet as a nut.
Over the crest of the hill they come, down into turn 3, and we're continuing to watch Stefan Ortelli try and find his way around the Porsche. His opportunity is going to be in this middle sector, the long radius corners that really doesn't suit the Porsche, which with its engine configuration is prone to understeer at the best of times, and it really is struggling through these long sequence of corners. Halliday and Parisi knew when they turned up this weekend it wasn't going to be a Porsche track. They managed to pull a great result yesterday, 5th position.
Yes,
these two really getting the maximum out of the car. I thought Ortelli was going to go for it. They need to watch out because Stefan Racina's right behind.
Yes, Racina's the one you're going to have to watch. He is the quickest of these 3 cars, but he's got this battle going on with the Audi and the Porsche. They're pretty much occupying all the available tarmac that's on a line, and of course Racina doesn't want to go offline, even though he knows this racetrack better than anybody else in the field.
Oh, look at that. He's trying to go around the outside now, the Audi. That's never really going to come off, and that could leave him open to attack from Stefan Racina. Halliday is taking the widest lines I've ever seen around this circuit. Up the hill they come. This is the long run down into turn 13. This is where Halliday is strong. You can see him pulling away. That Porsche's got such excellent straight line speed. Where's Racina going to be into the right-hander? He's on the outside. Is he going to stick it around the outside? That would be impressive.
No,
Not
he can't.
able to do it.
He can't. He's got to be patient. He's going to have a look around the outside now on the exit of the corner, but it'll be the speed off the corner that will be key to the Lamborghini getting under the rear wing of the Audi. He's out of the slipstream. Now he's back into it, but he's also got the second of the Ferraris now trying to go. Audi's top speed, they say, is not quick, but the Ferrari down the inside, Enzo Eid.
He's going to take 2 positions in 1, is Enzo. Racina tries to go around the outside, but the Ferrari is hanging on in there. They're going to be side by side into turn 2. No, they're not, because the Lamborghini just about has the momentum. On board with Ortelli, he's now up the inside of the Ferrari. He backs out of it going into turn 2. Very, very quick corner, turn 2.
Good racing, 3 cars, very competitively matched, all looking for the same bit of tarmac, but wanting to lead each of the other 2 cars, and they managed to get through the chicane as well as turns 1 and 2, and they didn't have any contact.
And here's the battle for the race lead on that last lap. Fred Makovic took 1.5 seconds out of Philippe Salaquada, so Ferrari leads, McLaren second. How often have we heard that in Formula 1? Now we're having it in GT1, and Philippe Salaquada is going to have to drive a wide car here.
He is indeed, and we spoke to Tony Valando this morning and said, conditions today any better for you than they were yesterday? His concern is that he feels that the front end of the car begins to lose grip, and what we're seeing from the McLaren is a balanced car pursuing a car, a Ferrari, which currently is now losing that front end grip, and that's causing him to be slower into the corners but enabling Makovic to overrun him. He needs to be careful not to overrun because his momentum and his rhythm will be lost as a consequence. The Ferrari just drawing a little bit of breath, giving Makovic a chance to think, well, where am I going to be stronger? As the Mercedes of Winkelhock once again cruises up to the back of these lead 2 cars.
Exactly. This slow pace now from Salaquada has brought the Mercedes and the BMW into the battle. It was the speed at which the front tyres were going off for the Ferrari that really concerned the team, and there you can see Tony Valanda looking concerned, as concerned as a Finn can look anyway. Across the line they come. 50 minutes remaining.
Watch what Makovic can do. He's going to try and get under the wing of the Ferrari. He's got the option of doing what he did in the Mercedes a lap ago, or go down the inside. He hasn't quite got the speed where it counts, but he's got the grip in the corner to get on the throttle a little bit earlier and get the drive off the corner. But it didn't, too close possibly to the Ferrari. Silliquat has done a very good job under extreme pressure.
Yes, he has, and I think the benefit he had with the Mercedes is the Mercedes was slow down a straight line, so he knew he had to defend into turn 1. The Ferrari is a little bit stronger down the straight, so he may be a little bit more confident. Down into turn 3, this is where the move for the lead happened yesterday. Silliquat knows that, covers it, but the danger is he going to go wide on the exit? Keeps it all together. This is going to be good driving from Silliquat.
It is, and again, now that the McLaren has sort of lost the momentum to take it up to the tail of the Ferrari, he's now going to find himself running at the pace of the Ferrari, and he's got pressure from behind because Marcus Winkelhock and Jelmer Baumann in the BMW 3rd and 4th respectively are right on the case of the McLaren. So one little blink from Fred Makovic is going to find him he brakes a little bit later because the Ferrari was on the brakes so early to enable the Ferrari to get into the corner, into turn 8, without having to overrun on the exit.
Great onboard footage, really watching Fred Makovic work the car. Right foot braking, you can see, because there's no clutch pedal in these cars, and here comes the Mercedes. He's got a great run. He had to get on the brakes halfway through there. Winkelhock is going to try and send one up the inside into turn 3. Here comes the BMW, though, to try and capitalise. It's a 4-way battle for the lead here at the Slovakia ring. Round 4 of the GT1 World Championship. That, crucially, has given Silliquat a bit of breathing space.
But Jelmer Baumann all over the back of that Mercedes. Remember, the Mercedes punches a huge hole in the air. The little, or the not little, the smaller BMW trying to take advantage of it, coming down into turn 13, but wasn't able to. Marcus Winkelhock was brave and he tried to make that move down the hill into turn 10. The McLaren defended as we would expect, and now he has lost ground he had made up 1 lap ago.
Yeah, the Mercedes as well, going very wide into that final corner, and as they cross the line, there's only a 1/10 of a second between them. Winkelhock darts to the left and then to the right to try and negate the slipstream that Jelmer Baumann will be getting, and manages to do that for the time being. These two, well, it's interesting to see what Bauman's approach will be. Will he now decide to sit behind the Mercedes so they can get back up to the front too? Because from being right with them, they crossed the line 1.5 seconds back.
What you've got are 2 cars leading: Ferrari mid-engine, McLaren mid-engine, 3rd and 4th Mercedes front engine but in the mid of the chassis, BMW front engine with the engine. What's the difference? Balance of performance means that these cars are virtually equal in performance.
Silliquat, can he get it stopped on the apex? Yes, he can. And this is really, really fantastic racing. On board we go with Makovic. This is through the left-hand kink at turn 4. Then we've got the right-hander at 5, which is a separate corner to 6, but it just goes on and on and on through the right-hander. This is where the Ferrari is going to be struggling, and this is where the McLaren has the chance. He's got his nose up the inside, but the next corner is a left-hander. He's been pushed onto the grass, I think. Ferrari gets on the grass. McLaren is in the lead.
BMW's in 3rd place. We didn't catch that. We were so intent on watching what was going on at the lead that the BMW of Jelmer Baumann's got ahead of Marcus Winkelhock. Can he make any progress now to catch up to the tail of the Ferrari, the car that was leading at the start of this lap, that has now been demoted to 2nd?
Into turn 9, here comes the BMW, up the inside, down into turn 10. Silliquat tries to close the door, but it's all a bit too late, and the BMW is up into 2nd place. Now it's going to be Marcus Winkelhock who fancies a look at getting past the Czech Republic driver Filip Silliquat out through turn 12, up the hill. This is where the Mercedes is possibly at its weakest down the straights. So McLaren leads, BMW now 2nd, Ferrari 3rd, Mercedes 4th.
And all in the space of 1 lap.
Yeah, exactly, all in the space of about 2 corners, wasn't it? So, through the right-hander, you can see how much the Ferrari's struggling with understeer.
I mean, he's got to slow the car down. If he doesn't, he'll run wide in the mid-corner, and then cars will pass up the inside. So slow the people down behind you to your pace, but make sure you don't give them any opportunities then on the exit of the corner to get close and take a run up behind you and down in the inside into turn 1.
So, let's turn our attention to the battles further back. Here comes Matt Halliday, still heading Stefan Racina, just about. Then we've got Enzo Ede having to go very defensive from the attacking Stefan Otelli and Frank Stippler. The 2 Audis now running line astern in 8th and 9th position. So what we've got to consider now, though, is that pit stops will begin in about 10 minutes' time. There's a 10-minute pit stop window between 35 minutes remaining and 25 minutes remaining. And we saw in Navarra, a quick pit stop can gain you a lot of time. So Makovic, he can't just relax now. He needs to push and try and gain as big an advantage as possible.
Well, the reason they've got to do that is because they have had in the past issues with restarting the engine. It doesn't fire up as quickly as some of the competitors in the pit lane. So they say, Fred, do what you can do. If you can build a lead, build more to give us that little margin for error in the pit stop change. When Steph Disseldorf gets into the car, that should we have an issue of refiring the engine up, that we've got that window in the cushion. So Makovic currently has got a 1.2 second advantage over Jelmer Berman. He needs that to extend to a factor of 10, I would say.
Quickest man on the circuit is Milos Pavlovic in that Ford GT. He's down in 13th position, and well, Thomas Jaeger just got past Frank Stippler there. We saw a clip of. Now Stefan Racina is going to be attacking the Porsche. This must be very frustrating for Racina. He's quicker through all the corners, but that straight line speed, he just can't find a way past. Here we've got a great 5-car train going on all over 7th position. Enzo Ede in the AF Corsa Ferrari is not too much of a roadblock really, because he's not losing too much time behind the cars in front, but I think the Audi behind is quicker.
Yeah, it is, and the Ferrari of Enzo Ede has got the same issues, I would imagine, that the Salaquada, the number 3 Ferrari that did lead initially, and it's Enzo Ede having to now back up the whole field, the 2 Audis, the second of the Mercedes, and Matthias Lauda in the second of the BMWs.
Makovic comes across the line to do a 2-minute 3.817, a full 0.8 of a second quicker than Jelmer Berman behind. And, well, these Slovakian fans have been treated to a pretty intense race so far, and it's still intense further back in the field. Thomas Jaeger feels like he needs to go defensive from Frank Stippler, and with good reason, because Stippler was pretty close. They are being kept under close attention by Matthias Lauda behind. So this is a 3-way battle over 9th position.
Interesting the way Jaeger took turn 1, pushed Stippler right on to the outside into turn 2. Matthias Lauda thinks he fancies a bit of the turf on the inside of turn 2, but wasn't far enough alongside to force the issue.
So into the quick chicane they come, then over the crest of the hill, down into turn 3. And it's this, well, they've just spread out a little bit at the moment, haven't they, as they come through turn 3. I don't think it'll be too long before they all start to stack up again. Oliver Jarvis shaking his head, not particularly pleased with something.
No, well, he wasn't very happy that Frank Stippler went so wide on the entry into turn 2. He got onto the rumble strip, and then he got onto the rumble and kicked up a bit of dust. And that the danger is you pick up a flint. The gravel here might be a little bit sharper than it is in other circuits, and that's caused a number of tyres to be punctured.
So there you could see the visible gap between the 4th place Winkelhock and the 5th place Porsche of Matt Halliday, and he has still got Stefan Racina all over the back of him. The pit stops really may decide that battle, because if the Lamborghini team can get a better stop or get the undercut by getting fresher tyres, he may well be able to make the pass that way. Winkelhock is now right up behind Salaquada. We saw in that shot earlier. There you can see it just in the background. Jelmer Berman has started to pull away from the 2 cars behind. And well, actually, let's see what this lap is like from Jelmer Berman, because he's done the fastest middle sector of anyone. So if Jelmer Berman can start to show this kind of pace, Makovic comes across the line to do a 2-minute 4.1. Jelmer Berman is 2 seconds behind and was 0.2 of a second quicker. So this is race on at the front. The McLaren and the BMW lapping very, very similarly. It's race on for 3rd place. This is the car we're on board with in 4th. Markus Winkelhock in his Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes SLS AMG. You can see the little tag down there, can't you? And he is chasing the Ferrari of Felipe Salaquada, who, as we've said, struggling a little bit with understeer.
Yeah, but he's been able to consolidate his position in 3rd place. Markus Winkelhock has not been able to do what the lead 2 cars did to the Ferrari in the space of 1 lap, but again, through the chicane, closes down to the back. Bassan keeping an eye on what's going on in that car. He will be jumping into very shortly, well, within potentially 5 minutes.
Yes, indeed. So through turn 3 they come, then the left-hand kink at 4, and then the long sequence of right-handers that takes you all the way around to turn 7, really, as this Mercedes tries to get into the apex. There you can see Francesco Castellacci, I think, who's going to be taking over fairly soon from the number 4 car of Enzo Ede, down in 7th position. So Ede is still managing to hold off Stefano Telli, Thomas Jaeger and Frank Stippler. But let's focus on this battle here. Through 8 they come. Now through the quick left-hander at turn 9.
Turn 9's a great corner, one of the good corners, a number of them here.
And Stefan Racina, sorry to interrupt you there, John, but Stefan Racina may have a problem because
he's
he
a
left front puncture.
Well, that's what I was talking about. If you run a wheel off the side of the track, there are flints, and some of them do get kicked onto the track. We saw that Frank Stippler over into turn 2, and that's on the left front, so it could easily be that he's run over a bit of gravel. It cuts the tyre down just like a razor blade going through it. Consequently, he's going to be in the pits, take him a bit longer than it would do normally.
It may even be that he's had a little look to try and get past Matt Halliday, who he was battling with over 5th place. There's been a bit of contact perhaps, and that may be where the puncture has come from. Daryl O'Young cannot believe it.
Well, he's going to be in the car. No, he can't. They've got to make a pit stop because the pit window is not open. It's going to be another just under 4 minutes before that pit window will be open. The Lamborghini will get back into the pits, but it will then have to go out again before they can come in and do the mandatory driver change.
Yeah, but it's not turned into a good day for Reiter Engineering. Their 2 Lamborghinis encountering problems. Thomas Enger is out of this race, and well, he's not happy, is he?
Hey, come on, give it one, Stefan. Give it one, my son.
Stefan Ortelli very frustrated with Enzo Eid in front of him. Be interested to find out why.
Well, I tell you why. The frustration is that the Audi's quicker in a lap, but the Ferrari's quicker down the straight. And we know that Stefan Ortelli and now Frank Stippler, who's just drawn up to the tail of his teammate, look how much closer they are as they come up out of 1 over the hill. He goes one way, then he goes back to the left. Now, that's probably not something he should do. You make one move and that's it. You shouldn't cut back again.
Well, that's what I was suggesting with Ortelli's hand gestures. Perhaps that's his frustration behind Enzo Eid. You could see the BMW and the Mercedes starting to get fighting down in 9th and 10th place. Wheels changed, out goes the Lamborghini, but if a safety car comes out, not too bad, but if things stay how they are, then their race is over.
The only good news for Lamborghini is I think they might have changed all 4 tyres rather than changing just the one that was punctured. So it means when the car comes back in for Daryl O'Young to take over, it could be a much quicker stop than would normally be the case.
Very true, very good point. The pit stop window will open in 2.5 minutes' time as we continue to watch the battle over 6th place. AF Corsa Ferrari just about getting it stopped, and the 32 car of Stefan Ortelli very, very close. We go on board with the battle for 3rd now.
No, the thing I'm not clear about is that tyre stop. If they did change all 4 Winston tyres, it was outside of the mandatory pit stop window, but are you mandatorily required to change those tyres or not? Is it an option or is it mandatory? So we just have a quick look at the rule book as we see this battle going on between the Ferrari running down Enzo Eid in 6th place now, and he's got the, well, that's in fact it's the 3rd place car of Slovakia. We look at the battle with Enzo Eid, the 2 Audis being backed up now with the 2nd of the Mercedes and the 2nd of the BMWs, and again Stefan Ortelli frustrated by the straight line speed of the Ferrari, knowing that he can lap quicker but can't get sufficiently close to the Ferrari here in turn 13 coming through 14 onto this pit straight, this very wide pit straight that is probably the best part of 750 metres long.
The tyres, you do have to change all 4 tyres in the mandatory pit stop, so
no benefit. So
no gain.
Look,
here comes the Frank Stippler up the inside into turn 1. I wonder if Ortelli has said, you know, no gesticulations this time. Oh, I thought we were going to get one there, but maybe he's decided to let his teammate have a go at getting past the Ferrari in front. But Oliver Jarvis not looking very happy that perhaps he thought his teammate Frank Stippler had been held up by Ortelli.
It could easily have been the case. You know, when you're running behind another car and battling for position, you use the car in an entirely different way. It's a more aggressive way. It's less kind on the tyres or less kind on the brakes. But Ollie Jarvis running up there and he's having a word on the pit wall to say, get him in, I want to get in that car now.
Yeah, well, the pit stop
or
window...
alternatively, he's about to say, keep in mind he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Don't bring him in yet. We've got another 9 minutes to go.
Well, they're probably thinking by the time they get around to the pit stop window, where are they now? They're only, the pit stop window will be open by the time they get round. If they get in, swap drivers, then they can take advantage. Whilst Enzo Eid is still out there, Oliver Jarvis can go out, lap quicker, and leapfrog him in the pit stops. But by the same token, Eid might be straight into the pits.
If I was Castellacci, the teammate of Enzo Eid, I would be saying, get my teammate in now. I'm quicker than him. I want to be in that car. I want to give Ferrari a better result than we've got currently.
The two Audis are going for it. Now Stefano Telli's going on the outside. Mercedes tries to make it 3 abreast, and I think Ortelli might lose out because of all that. He's going to be boxed out by his teammate. He'll have the inside line through the right-hander at 11, and he just about holds off the Mercedes. We go on board with Stefano Telli. This has allowed Ede a little bit of an advantage. The pit stop window is now open, so if we're going to get any pit stop movement, it's going to be from these cars. Someone roars into the pits. That's Marcus Winkelhock handing over to Mark Basseng. So that's an interesting decision, because I thought Winkelhock was doing a decent job. Who's coming in out of these guys?
Ferrari had to come in, and also the second of those. Is that Ortelli coming in?
No, that's Stifler coming in.
Stifler coming in. So we got Matthias Lauda as well. So the Mercedes is in.
And there is the Mercedes. They gained a lot of time with their pit stops last time out in Navarra, the Al Inkel team. But the order was Ferrari, Audi, BMW as they came into the pits in this battle over 6th place. This is all down to the teamwork now. Will they leave Ferrari, Audi, BMW, or will any of them be able to take advantage, gain a place? All 4 tyres changed, driver changes as well.
Francesco Castellacci getting strapped in now to the Ferrari. He ought to be able to do a bit more than Enzo Ede has done, but the problem that we know the Ferrari will have is the problem that we've seen with Felipe Salaquada, who did lead initially, is that they've got an issue.
BMW is going to get both of them.
Stop from BMW.
Great work from V1 Racing Team.
Jarvis is in 2 places, 1 in the pit lane. Well, how frustrating is that for Castellacci?
Yeah, so Francesco Castellacci exits the pit lane. That will be a net 8th place. Into the pits comes Alvaro Parent. He did have a little off earlier, we didn't see it, but he had taken a trip into the gravel trap. Gregoire de Moustier, I should say, and he will now hand over to Alvaro Parent.
Yes, and you're going to see a massive difference in performance between the two drivers. Alvaro Parent is effectively the McLaren Works driver as the battle for the lead is closing down.
1.3 seconds between them now. That BMW was chipped away.
It has, and Jelmer Berman has had the sight of the rear of the McLaren. That's always what a driver looks to see. Corner by corner is that gap reducing. Makovic stays out, Berman stays out, both lapping in 2 minutes 04.9 for the leader, 2:04.3 for the BMW. That was the last lap, but this lap coming across 2 minutes 0. They haven't got a time up yet, but Ferrari in as well, so the 3rd place car of Salaquada into the pit lane.
Okay, so when Salaquada comes out, that's going to be the interesting one, because he was battling with that 38 car of Marcus Winkelhock. Now in the hands of Mark Basseng is going to be the Ferrari versus Mercedes on the pit exit. That will be the battle to watch. No one else coming into the pit lane at the moment, so Thomas Jaeger stays out for a couple more laps. There we can see them coming through the number up into 4th, well, up into a net 3rd position, into a real 3rd position now for Matt Halliday. There's Steph Dusseldorp, so they're going to bring him in fairly early, actually. I would have thought they might have left Fred Makovic out, but it's probably to cover the BMW.
Yeah, maybe the only reason is that they feel that the gap has opened up a little bit. Makovic, whether he had made an error on the previous lap, it looks to me that the gap is, well, it's certainly no better than it was 1 lap ago. But fresh out of rubber sitting there, and Steph Dusseldorp ready to get into the car.
The
Ferrari
Mercedes is going to get past.
The Mercedes.
Mark Basseng moves up into a net 3rd position once all the pit stops have shaken out. So again, great work from the Al Inkel team, get them out. But Tony Verlander is a very quick driver.
Yeah, he's on the fresh set of tyres, taking a lap for those to get up to full operating temperature, and the Mercedes has had that benefit. So this lap will be a lap where Verlander needs to do the best he can under the circumstances, not to let that Mercedes get any further ahead.
So will BMW pit on this lap, or will they try and leave Jelmer Berman out for a couple more laps to try and get the leapfrog in the pit lane?
The speed that the BMW is running at, in my view, they should keep Berman out, because he's within what the gap that they were on their last lap in terms of lap times, which was about 7/10 of a second. That's the gap we are looking at now, a little more than 7/10 of a second. So if they bring Berman in now, I think they're making a mistake. No, they're not leaving Makovic staying out as well.
Hexes were ready, weren't they?
Were they throwing a dummy?
Yeah.
Were they getting everybody else in the pit lane? And they're staying out. So Makovic stays out, Berman stays out, and they continue the gap. Well, in fact, it was only a 1/10 of a second difference in this lap.
So the gap is down to 0.8 of a second for the lead of this race. Michael Bartels looking pensive. When are the team going to decide to bring Jelmer Berman in? Perhaps they've already decided to bring Berman in at the last possible moment, and they're just waiting for Hexis to try and
blink.
Yeah, exactly. see on that last lap, 0.2 of a second.
Well, I'll tell you what, Makovicky is quick through there. He gets within a razor blade's thickness between the car and the side of the tyre barrier. Down into turn 3, goes on and on and on. If an option of lines you can use in that corner, you use what ideally you like, but also what suits your car better.
And through the right-hander of 5 to 6. Where is the BMW? How is the BMW's pace going to be? Is it going to be able to continue? Of course, once these drivers take over, Steph Dusseldorp, very quick driver. We've also got Michael Bartels taking over that BMW, very quick driver, many-time FIA GT champion, also GT1 champion in 2010. We go on board with Makovicky, a few little bites at getting it into the apex, but doesn't look like there's anything too. It doesn't look like he's struggling by any stretch.
I mean, clearly the BMW is running quicker every lap than the McLaren is doing, so there are issues that Makovicky's having to deal with, but that doesn't look to me to be particularly of a handling nature. And the BMW again closing clearly within half a second or less as they drop down.
He's loosening his belts, or is he tightening them?
Well, he might be loosening them because he's probably thinking about making a pit stop.
No, exactly, and the BMW has got right onto the back of the Hexus McLaren now. Hex is still looking ready in the pit lane. Are they going to pit? Yes, in comes Makovicky now. It'll be worth finding out. We've seen his pace drop off, Makovicky, and I wonder if perhaps they're encountering similar problems as yesterday where they started to drop off. That might be something to work out, but here comes the pit stop.
I would hate to think that is the issue, but it's something that we have to consider as a possibility. So door open, Steph Dusseldorp helps Makovicky out of the car. Right front goes back on. This is a well-polished team at work, even though they've had very, very little sleep over the last, 3 days in effect. Philippe Dumar told me this morning that they had to find 5 hours sleep over the last 3 days, and it looked like it. Good job by the team, off the jack, but the starting problem, delays.
Oh, we had to wait for the Porsche.
Porsche.
That could be absolutely vital in deciding this championship race. The Porsche was coming into the pits, and the McLaren had to get on the brakes, not pull out, and that, combined with the pace of Jelmer Berman, could be very, very interesting and crucial. Out comes the McLaren. It's still miles ahead of the net third position 38 Mercedes of Marc Basseng. But you can see
that situation was exaggerated by the fact that the engine didn't fire on immediate response to the starter button. It took a couple of seconds or so for it to get fired up, which then enabled the Porsche to dive in front of it, which then caused that McLaren to have to hold. Had the engine fired at the point at which the button was pressed, he could have gotten out before the Porsche made a stop.
Out comes the Porsche then. It's going to be behind Matthias Lauda. Has Matthias Lauda made his pit stop? Yes, he has. So Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, they had that fantastically quick pit stop, didn't they, the BMW team?
Brilliant stop.
That's helped them. And also going past is Frank Stippler, who was lapping very, very quickly. He did the fastest middle sector of anyone on that last lap. So Mike Parisi comes out, dropping a few places in the Porsche. But Matthias Lauda and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof have done a great job in their BMW. This BMW will coming into the pits this time around. So this is where we will see the lead of the championship race decided. Into the pits comes Jelmer Berman. The Vita for One racing team are going to have to be on their very, very best performance if they want to do this right. Michael Bartels waiting, and hopefully...
Well, we saw a brilliant stop for Lauda and Meyerhoff, but why did they do it so quickly? Whatever it was stunning, and made their life an awful lot easier for the second of those BMWs. Michael Bartels gets in, slightly bigger person to get into the space. Jelmer Berman is a smaller and also slightly younger man, able to get in and out of the car more nimbly than the team boss of this Vita 4-1 BMW Z4.
So down to the final corner comes the Hexus McLaren. He's already gone. Fantastic stuff from the Vita for One racing team. Alvaro Parenta's just at the fastest final sector of anyone, but out of the pit lane comes the race leading BMW. The combination of a quick pit stop and Hexus having to wait means that he has emerged in a massive lead. There is the previous race leader. BMW now leads. That McLaren is in second position. The Vita for One racing team absolutely delighted with that. Third place will be that Mercedes, and fourth is that Ferrari behind.
In the meantime, McLaren and Steph Dusseldorp in the car, and I suspect he's come onto pit straight and seen the BMW in the far yonder disappearing out of the pit lane, wondering, what have we done wrong? Well, you've done nothing wrong. It's just that BMW have had 2 totally brilliant pit stops for their Z4-1, Z4Ms.
So Jelmer Berman leads, well, has handed now over to Michael Bartels. He hasn't flicked over the transponder yet, but Michael Bartels leads this race. Laurens Van Thor has just come out of the pits we saw there. See where he has shaken himself out into, but there is now Francesco Castellacci. He's lost out in all of this, hasn't he? Because Enzo Eid brought the car into the pits in a strong position in 6th place, I think it was. Castellacci now down towards the lower reach of the top 10.
We saw them losing places in the pit lane. They were doing their driver change, tyre change, and the Audi and the BMW pulled out ahead of them, and that was a job done. And for Castellacci, who was desperate to get into the car and try and do some good work for Ferrari in the second part of this 1-hour event, has lost those places, where you shouldn't be losing them.
So these standings you're seeing on the bottom of the screen aren't entirely accurate yet, because the timing screens here at the circuit yet to tick over. It will make more sense when they come across the line at the end of this lap. And the 32 car we go on board with now of Laurens Van Thor, he's going to be chasing Oliver Jarvis, who we saw getting in the car a few laps ago. And this is going to be over, I think, 7th position, if I'm correct. Again, we'll wait when the cars cross the line to confirm it. But here comes our race leader, Michael Bartels. Jelmer Berman, very, very happy with how that stint went. He's saying that he, presumably, that he just couldn't quite get the move done on that McLaren, even though he was closing in rapidly. There's our front 2 then. Michael Bartels leading in the BMW. 2nd place is going to be Steph Dusseldorp. 3rd position, you can see there, is Marc Basseng. 4th is Tony Verlander in the AF Corsa Ferrari. And those 4 have a comfortable margin over the 5th place car at the moment, which will be coming across the line fairly soon. And I'm expecting it to be the Audis. No, of course, it's Nicky Melnoff now in 5th place. There's Fred Makovicky. He's going to be impossibly frustrated.
Yeah, but it's just a brilliant stop. The BMW, I don't know what they've done. They've just had 2 outstanding pit stops. It is normally the Hexus team that we're giving that accolade to. Oliver Jarvis, first of the 2 Audis, he's taken over Frank Stippler, running in the 2nd Audi, and that is Laurens Van Thor. As we go back to the leading BMW and Michael Bartels.
Let's hear from Jelmer Berman then. Fantastic opening stint from him.
Jelmer, what a tremendous performance by yourself and the team, but can Michael bring it home?
Thank you. Well, he's got a lot of experience, so I trust he will.
Thank you.
We can't say a lot else, he's his boss.
No, exactly. Yeah, very good point. Michael Bartels is, of course, the boss of the Vita1 racing team.
Michael Bartels knows GT1 racing like nobody knows it. He knows what he's got to do. He knows he's been handed a great opportunity, both by Jelmer Berman with a superb drive, but principally by his team in the pit lane to turn around the position of BMW, to take control of the race, leading by 7.5 seconds when they came across the line at the end of lap 17. Keep an eye on it to see what it will be at the end of lap 18, but it's probably going to be very much, it'll be somewhere in the same region, 7 to 8 seconds.
Yep, so Michael Bartels comes out of the final corner leading this race, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what these lap times were like. Across the line he comes. He does a 2 minutes 6.2, not particularly fast for his first out lap. Steph Dusseldorp 1.2 seconds quicker.
Absolutely took a chunk of time out of the car, and Michael Bartels will be getting that message, I hope, from the pit wall via the radio or via the pit board, but it'll take one more lap from the pit board to get the signal through.
So on board we go with the 32 car. This is Laurens Van Thor, the young Belgian driver. We are watching the battle over 5th place. So we've got the Vita1 Racing Team BMW of Nicky Melnoff up in front. He's being attacked by the Audi of Oliver Jarvis. It's Jarvis on the outside. It's the inside line for Nicky Melnoff. Melnoff late on the brakes, gets it done. Can he cover the inside line? He needs to get across to the right. He can't do it quick enough. Jarvis is up alongside. Van Thor, will he try and follow through into turn 2? He's not going to be quite close enough, I don't think. But Oliver Jarvis through into 5th position.
Yeah, another classic motor racing overtake. And Oliver Jarvis executed that perfectly, runs it a little wide in the exit out of turn 2, gets through the chicane cleanly. Now keep eyes on the second of the Audis, Laurens Van Thor, as we see the car drop down into 2, defence from the BMW to close off the entry into this long 2 apex 2-part corner turn 3.
So then out through the left-hand kick at turn 4. We're on board, as I say, with the 32 car of Laurens Vanthoor. Only 21 years old, so one of the youngest drivers in the field, but he was the 2009 German Formula 3 Cup champion. He's finished second in the Macau Grand Prix in 2010, and he's really pushing.
Yeah, and the BMW of Meyer Manhoff got a little bit out of shape as he turned into turn 6, again allowing Laurens Vanthoor in the Audi to get a bit closer, put more pressure onto the BMW. Now out of turn 8, the short run up to turn 9, super corner. You can really settle the car into this one, drive it through the exit of the corner. Don't go too wide on the outside, as we saw the Audi, that's the 32 Audi, the car we're on board, Stefano Ortelli, yesterday in qualifying, got it all wrong. But Laurens Vanthoor is putting pressure on the Austrian driver. Again, the back end of that BMW looking unstable.
He's going to have a very, very good run through 11, then 12, up the hill, down the back straight. And this could be an opportunity for Laurens Vanthoor into the final corner. On board we go. He's not closing in enough on that BMW just yet. Shows his nose to the inside to try and put off Meyer Manhoff, who goes in very, very early into the corner. Surely this is going to be an opportunity, although... And he's all out of shape. He's really struggling with that car. And now Vanthoor is going to get alongside, side by side, through the left-hand kink. Past our commentary box they come. He's on the grass, Laurens Vanthoor, not given enough room. Slides all over the circuit and heading down into turn 1. He says, what was that, Nicky?
No, that was unnecessary. There was no need to push the Audi as wide to put Vanthoor onto the grass. You can see the grass now in the radiator. He almost hit one of the marker boards by the side of the circuit. He runs wide out of turn 1, and I think that will be an observation from the race director to the stewards, because that was an unnecessarily aggressive move to try and prevent Laurens Vanthoor, who had got the run out of turn 14, done the good work, and consequently he may suffer with grass in that air intake at the very bottom of the splitter.
And I think we might see a bit of a frustrated Laurens Vanthoor now, starting to attack a little bit harder. Meyer Manhoff goes wide. Vanthoor himself struggles with the car. Plenty of opposite lock just to keep you abreast on the lead battle. The gap came down by another second up at the front, so that'll develop before too long. But we stay on board with this fantastic battle over 6th position. The BMW holds it at the moment, but this Audi we're on board with is trying to take that position away from Nicky Meyer Manhoff. Here's a look at the replay, John.
Yes, I mean, the BMW does not give space. Audi almost going sideways as it comes back onto the racetrack. That was a move I think was at best careless and at worst premeditated.
Yeah, it's he didn't leave Vanthoor any room at all. I think that's the difference. So I would suggest he probably didn't know he was there, knowing Nicky Meyer Manhoff.
Well,
but
you know, come on, he knows precisely what he's doing. Turn 14 is a mild curve. You don't need to use the full width of the corner, and you can see Vanthoor, he is rightly aggrieved by that manoeuvre. And you know, if it isn't resolved by the stewards, it certainly will be resolved by the two drivers when this race is over. They will have words, I suspect. It'll be done politely, as you would expect. Nevertheless, they will be firm and to the point.
On board we go. Sorry, not on board we go. On board we were with Vanthoor when that happened at this point last time around. He takes again a nice wider line in, out onto the start-finish straight they come. This fantastic battle between Meyer Manhoff and Laurens Vanthoor over 6th position. Again, the gap came down at the front only by 1/10 of a second. But this fantastic battling here at the Slovakia ring is pleasing the crowds, I have no doubt, and it's also pleasing the president of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Ivan Gasparovic, is here watching on and hopefully enjoying what he's seeing, because I'm certainly enjoying what I'm seeing.
Well, I hope he's enjoying what we're seeing, but also around the world is watching a really great event here in the Slovak Republic on a super racetrack, and I look forward to seeing more of this racetrack in the future. I think they've done a brilliant job. Maybe just level out a little bit the crest over that bridge, the Flugplatz as we call it, and this place is pretty stunning.
Vanthoor is pushing really hard. He was all out of shape down there into turn 3, and you get the feeling he's just got a little bit flustered now behind Nicky Meyer Manhoff and is starting to get frustrated. And you can see that Meyer Manhoff has actually pulled away the margin just a little bit into the long right-hander. This is where Vanthoor went wide in the opening laps yesterday and lost positions.
Yeah, remember the Audi was 2 wheels and almost 4 off the track at a quick part of the racetrack. We don't know whether there's an issue with temperatures. We don't know whether there's been a little bit of damage to the front splitter, which runs so low to the ground that when you go off track like that and you come back on, the edge of the racetrack can rip into that splitter So lots of issues that need to be explained. Certainly we'll get the explanation when the race is finished.
Race leader Michael Bartel's across the line. He picked up the pace on the last lap, 1 minute 5.2. This time it's a 2 minute 5.2. This time it's a 2 minute 5.4, but 0.6 of a second came out of the gap. We've got 15 minutes to go, which will probably equate to about 7 laps or so. So Dusseldorf, I think, might need to get a little bit more pace, but it won't be long before the McLaren really starts to reel that BMW in. Fantastic stuff here at the front of this GT1 race.
The danger is that Dusseldorf, if he pushes too hard, he might use up too much of the tyre too quickly.
There's Stefan Racina, unfortunately watching the race with his mates now after that contact in the opening few laps has unfortunately put him out. His first GT1 event. Hello.
And I think he acquitted himself extremely ably, indeed, in very experienced company. Okay, his home track, nonetheless, that's a driver matched, let's say, with Thomas Enger would be a really strong partnership.
Yep, he of course had a front left puncture, Stefan Racina. We're not 100% sure why, but it's either from running a little bit wide or perhaps contact with the Porsche of Matt Halliday, but that is just speculation. There's no speculation that the gap at the front is coming down though. First sector, Michael Bartels did a 39.6. Steph Dusseldorf did a 38.9 in that first sector alone. Let's not discount Mark Basseng in third place. The Mercedes was quicker than both of them. Fantastic stuff. Lawrence Vanthoor is still trying to find his way past Nick Melnoff.
Well, it's the usual old story. You get up to the car you're trying to pass, the momentum has dropped away, plus the frustration of 3 laps ago at this point of racetrack onto the start-finish straight as we go back again and look at what's happened. Down into turn 10.
So on board we go. A little bit of dust being kicked up.
Turn 8.
Actually, yeah, now into turn 9,
into turn
isn't it?
9. So
Very quick corner. The BMW's strong through that.
Yeah, well, it's a downforce corner. If your car's got the downforce, you will be quick through it. Then the downhill braking into turn 10. It's a slow left-hand corner, again, quite a long corner. It's about being neat and tidy rather than trying to overdrive and be aggressive. And again, the Audi not able to take any advantage in that slow corner against the BMW.
Battle for 6th position, as you can see, and Oliver Jarvis has disappeared on off the road in that 33 Audi. And Lawrence Vanthoor, after such a excellent opening weekend in Nogaro, where they won both the first qualifying and championship races.
Now suddenly has the message gone through to the leading BMW, because he and the second place McLaren now lapping at identical 2 minutes 04.9s.
Yep, good lap from Michael Bartels. That has held the gap in its current position at the moment, but with 12 minutes to go, still plenty of time for things to change, although Dusseldorf would now need to find about a second a lap over Bartels if he wanted to get up to the back of him by the end of the race. Let's hear from Frank Stippler. His teammate Oliver Jarvis is running in 5th place. Stippler's with Haley Coxon.
Frank, what does Ollie need to do to get past?
Sorry.
What does Ollie need to do to get past the Ferrari?
Against the Ferrari, I don't know.
An advantage.
I think he's far away right now. I didn't follow it because it was only my teammate Vanthoor against the BMW in the picture. How far is he away?
Thank you.
So Frank Stippler, his teammate Oliver Jarvis running in 5th place behind the Ferrari of Tony Verlander. I think the top 4 are fairly separated from the rest of the pack, but the battle is going to be between Mayer, Melnoff and Vanthoor. The crowd on their feet as the Ford GT and Darrell O'Young go side by side. That's actually a pass for position. Matteo Cressoni going past Darrell O'Young. Battle over 11th place, so there's no points up for grabs, but if one car was to retire up in front, both of these drivers has made 2 pit stops as well.
Yeah, well, both cars have had damage, but particularly the Ford having the incident in opening laps with Thomas Enger. That is the second of the Lamborghinis. Darrell Young behind the wheel of number 25, trying to redress the wrong, and certainly Thomas Enger was abundantly clear, and correctly so. The incident occurred in turn 3, I think the second, third lap of the race.
Yeah, I apologise earlier. I said that Stefan Racina was out of the race. It was his teammate Thomas Enger that retired. Racina had just handed over to Darrell O'Young and decided to head up into the grandstand to watch with his mates. So 10 minutes remaining. This is the battle over 11th place. I think now Cressoni has got past. He's going to begin to pull away. And there's the Ryder Engineering team. Bit disappointed with today's work, really. One of them's out of the race, the other is now running last on the road, unfortunately, because we have lost the number 2 McLaren. It came into the pits a couple of laps ago. We're not 100% sure why yet. We're going to try and get to the bottom of why that number 2 McLaren came into the pits, but it's been having troubles, since yesterday's qualifying race.
Yeah, I mean, Alvaro Perent took over the car from Greg
Still got the fastest lap
Rademusier.
of the race.
Pardon?
Perent still got the fastest lap of the race.
I was going to say he was the quickest car, 203.124. So the pace of the car at the point in which Perent took over was clearly there, but something has occurred and it's been a bit of a difficult weekend for that particular car, and maybe some of those difficulties have revisited it, and disappointingly for Alvaro Perent and for the Hexus McLaren team.
Yep, their teammate, though, Steph Dusseldorp in the number 1 Hexus McLaren is still in the mix, currently running in second position. He only took 0.3 of a second out of Michael Bartels on that last lap. Across the line comes the Ford GT of Matteo Cressoni, and he has moved up, as we say, into 11th position. It looks as though in the first sector McLaren are very, very strong.
Yeah,
but then through the they gained 0.6 of a second in the first sector, but in the middle sector they lost 0.7 of a second. So the first two sectors kind of balance themselves out.
In the meantime, this battle with the BMW and the Audi, Nicky Meyer-Manhoff and looking at Lawrence Van Thorp, still going on. We did see that unfortunate, unpleasant moment coming onto the pit straight now 5 laps ago, where the BMW's defence was aggressive, forcing Van Thorp onto the grass, and it may well be that the consequence of that, and I believe that there was grass embedded in the air intake at the very bottom of the car just above the splitter. Most of it appears to have cleared, but nevertheless I'm sure it's had an effect.
Yep, we go on board once more with Lawrence Van Thorp down to the final corner, and ever since that moment on the grass, Van Thorp has seemed to struggle to get back up behind Nicky Meyer-Manhoff, although Meyer-Manhoff really struggling through that long final corner, really giving the front left some jip. Of course, these long corners harm the front tyres, don't they? That's probably why Ferrari was struggling so much, because these corners go on and on. The longer the corner, the more load you're putting on the front left if it's a right corner, right if it's a left corner.
That's the skill and the art of a driver and a team and an engineer to work out the circuit that you're going to. You've got to find a way to make the tyres live. And if you go for maybe what is a single very fast lap, it may not be the best setup for a long run, a 35-minute run or a 25-minute run or whatever you choose to do. And runs very well Lawrence Van Thorp on the exit of turn 2 into the chicane. And it gets a good run through the chicane, gains pace and speed, but down into turn 3, not sufficiently close to try an attempted pass, but to put pressure once again onto the BMW.
Yep. So across through the left-hander they come, and it really is going to be a very, very frustrating afternoon for Lawrence Van Thorp as he comes through the right-hander now at turns 5 and 6. The gap at the front came down by another 0.2, but Michael Bartels has a 4-second advantage up at the front with only 7 minutes to go. So I think, barring any disaster, that V1 racing car is safe. This one isn't safe.
Watch what happens through turn 8, now the run to turn 9. Can the Audi use that corner speed that it appears to have? It showed it through the chicane, but no difference through turn 9. Then the crest down into braking into turn 10. Again, the BMW going in slightly earlier than it would normally want to do. That's because he wants to defend the line. In turn 10 itself, there's not an awful lot anybody can do. Through 11, slow, but then once on the exit of 11, 12 opens up, and it's here that the Audi has to start to do more good work.
Yep, down into the final corner, and I think once again we're going to see Nicky Meyer-Manhoff working hard at the wheel of his car. He actually took pole position here last year in FIA GT3, so he knows his way around the Slovakia ring. He is quick around here, but a lot smoother this time around, but as a consequence has lost a little bit of momentum going out onto the start-finish straight. We go now on board with Lawrence Van Thorp, trying to make the move as he comes down into turn 1. Windscreen wipers going. I don't think there's any rain out there, but Van Thorp takes a nice wide line into the first corner. He tries to get the cut back, and now he has their side by side. He's going to try and push him onto the grass perhaps on the way into turn 2. Bit of get your own back style, but finally Lawrence Van Thorp moves up into 6th.
No, you don't do it aggressively. You do it, as you point out, with style, and you say that's how you make a pass, and you don't block a car. And Lawrence Van Thorp will be proud of that move. It's a good, well thought out and executed maneuver to get that Audi up ahead of that BMW. Van Thorp and Nicky Meyer-Manhoff, and look how quickly the gap has opened up between the Audi and the BMW. In the space of, 3-4 corners, the gap has opened up. But there's the battle right now for second place. The gap was 3.7 seconds, and the Mercedes only a further 1.7 seconds behind.
So let's hear from Fred Makovicky. They had trouble in their pit stop, and it cost them the lead of the race. He's down with Haley Coxon.
Fred, what was the reason for your delay in the pits?
We lose a little time because it was not possible for Steph to restart because the Porsche arrived at the same moment, and we lose maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and it's difficult for us because we will start second. I also we arrive to continue like this. Steph do a really good job, and if we arrive to take the second place, it's perfect for us for the championship.
Thank you.
Not entirely perfect for the championship though, because with Michael Bartels taking the win, that would move Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman to the top of the championship, 6 points clear of Makovicky and Dusseldorp, who would lose the lead and be in second place. A third place finish for Bakseng and Winkelhock, which is currently what they're set for, would move them up into third place in the championship. So if the race finishes like this, the top 3 on the podium will be the top 3 in the championship.
And at the end of lap 26, we're on lap 27 now. The gap between first and second remained unchanged, 3.7 seconds, and a further 1.7 seconds behind that is Marc Basseng in the Mercedes.
The Mercedes has shown good pace actually. I think that's worth pointing out, because we were expecting McLaren and BMW to be strong here like they were in Navarra, but in this second stint Marc Basseng has more than kept with the BMW and the McLaren in front, which has been very promising for them, because I've said this a number of times, they always seem to come into the weekend, have free practice 1 and think, we've got no pace in this car. By the time they get to the end, the Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports team, team boss René Munich here this weekend, the team managed to find the pace.
Yeah, I mean, the team will come here with what they believe is the right setup. Of course, they've got totally different tyres to what they would have used running on Pirellis, as everybody is doing this year. They don't know what the track is going to give to them, so they set about with 2 cars, 2 different setups, and they come somewhere in the middle between the 2 cars, or sometimes they may even look to their GT3 cousins to get a guide as to where to go.
Through the hairpin they come. We are on board now with Marc Basseng. As I say, on that last lap, only lapping a 1/10 of a second slower than the race leaders in front. There was a point where he was the quickest out of all these 3. 3 minutes remaining, so Michael Bartels is now going to be starting his penultimate lap of the race, and it could be a victory that moves them into the lead of the championship, which is amazing considering in Nogaro, Bartels and Jelmer Berman picked up 1 point in the opening round of the season. Since then, they've really got the pace, a first and second in the 2 races at Zolder, a third and fifth in the 2 races in Navarra. If it all turns out according to plan, a third and a first in the 2 races here in Slovakia.
The gap is down by 0.2 of a second between first and second, nowhere near enough, with just over 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. The gap between second and third has actually extended from 1.7 seconds up to 2.3, so you've got to believe that Marc Basseng is looking at a podium position number 3, and the leader here, Michael Bartels, consolidating by the lap, and he knows with 2 minutes of this race remaining, it's very, very unlikely, bar something unforeseen, that he's going to lose a 3.5 second advantage, let alone lose the lead.
We were talking earlier about Oliver Jarvis closing in on the Ferrari of Tony Villander, and whilst there was a big gap between them, Oliver Jarvis has certainly had the pace. He took that last lap about 2 seconds quicker than Tony Villander in front of him, so that Audi has had the pace, a 2 minute 4.5. He was actually the quickest man on the circuit last time around, Oliver Jarvis. So it's been Audi just haven't quite been able to capitalise on their pace this weekend. Ortelli went off in qualifying and that compromised them. Then they're in the mid-pack for the race. Tyre gamble didn't pay off. It's just not quite working.
You know, it's horses for courses. Some cars will suit some circuits, and if the principle of all this is if you don't have a good qualifying starting position, then you're on the back foot to begin with. You can have a brilliant pit stop and make up time in the pit stop, but it's all about track position. And if you're in the middle of the grid battling with cars that are potentially slower than you in a lap, but you can't overtake them quickly, then all the work that you know you're capable of doing, you're going to have to just live with.
So Michael Bartels into turn 13 for the penultimate time. This long right-hander that then kicks left into turn 14. And this has been a very, very strong performance from the Visa for One racing team, who, as I said, were very, very disappointed after Nogaro. Final lap of the race, I think we go on to now with 40 seconds remaining. And the 44-year-old from Plattenberg in Germany, Michael Bartels, starts his final lap of the race. He may be the team boss. Jelmer Berman may be quick, but Bartels is very, very quick as well. He was a Formula 1 driver in 1991, did 4 races for Lotus, didn't manage to qualify for any of them, but
and another useless bit of information, he used to be the boyfriend of Steffi Graf.
Oh really? Oh, I didn't know
you were in short pants at that time.
Michael Bartels weaves through the chicane, up over the crest, down into turn 3, and it has been a very, very strong performance from him. FIA GT champion 2006, 2008, 2009, FIA GT1 world champion in 2010. This is going to move him to the top of the 2012 GT1 championship.
And he's done a really good job. He got into the car driven by Jelmer Berman, who is quicker than Michael Bartels. But Bartels is so experienced, so wily, he knows what he has to do. He doesn't overdrive the car to extend his lead. He just controls the pace as he's done in his stint from the front.
So second place is going to go the way of the Hexis McLaren, the number 1 car of Fred Makovicky and Steph Dusseldorp. You can see them there behind. The gap came down again on that last lap to just 3.1 seconds, but on this final lap of the race, it's not going to be enough. Dusseldorp is going to keep lapping just to send out a message, if anything, that to the BMWs, don't get too confident. If it hadn't been for that pit stop, we'd have been winning this race.
Yeah, I know, but there's lots of ifs and buts. I was fishing the other day, but if I didn't drop 2 fish at the net, but I caught 2 fish, I lost them.
That's really right.
McLaren's in second place.
Down into the final corner comes Michael Bartels. Jelmer Berman started his car 3rd on the grid. He chased down the number 1 Hexis McLaren. There you can see Berman climbing the fencing. A fantastic pit stop from the V1 racing team. Real slick stuff. Trouble for the McLaren, and that means that Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels win the championship race in the Slovakia ring. It moves them to the top of the championship. Across the line comes Steph Dusseldorp, him and Fred Makovicky satisfied with 2nd. Another podium for the 38 Alinkel Munich Motorsports car. That moves them into 3rd place in the championship. 4th place across the line, Tony Belander and Philippe Salaquada in the car that was leading this race at the beginning, had pole position, led for a reasonable amount of time. Then across the line, that Ford GT is a couple of laps down after making 3 pit stops. So 5th place for Oliver Jarvis. Good drive from Oliver Jarvis. He had some real pace out there. His teammate is in 6th, Lawrence Van Thorn. Nicky Meyer-Melnov in 7th place. Fairly satisfied with that. He's certainly weaving all over the track for a little bit of fun. I think that's their best championship race performance of the season. No, they had a 6th position last time out in Navarra. 8th place for Halliday and Parisi. They'll be fairly satisfied with that. They were never going to have a strong weekend.
They would have had a strong weekend if it had been a wet race or a wet dry race, but in these dry conditions it just didn't favour the Porsche as much as it favoured other marques. But there Michael Bartels, door open, getting some a much probably needed breath of fresh air into the cockpit, and he will be delighted indeed with the performance of his entire Vita 4-1 BMW Z4M team. And a solid demonstration of good teamwork.
Across the line to take 10th place comes Nicky Pastorelli. He and his teammate Thomas Jaeger struggling a little bit really in this race. Not really sure why, because their team, they look like to be the quicker car in Friday practice, but they have struggled since then as the local Slovakians wait to greet Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels down there in the pit lane.
Wasn't like that in my day.
I'm sure it was, John. I'm sure it was. And Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels, very strong driver lineup. And you have to say that there are some very strong driver lineups in GT1. I mean, you've got Jelmer Berman, who's, we've already discussed, Bartels is strong. CV, Jelmer Berman has an equally impressive one. He's always been in championships where the competition has been very, very strong. I mean, he finished 4th in British F3 in 2006, but behind the likes of Mike Conway, Oliver Jarvis and Bruno Senna, one of which is driving this, one of which is out in the US, and one of which is in Formula 1. So Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels, real championship challengers now.
Oh, very much so. And Jelmer Berman, a driver, as you just pointed out, of a great ability and skill, but like many young drivers, as Jelmer Berman there, you see him on the pit wall, hasn't had the breaks that some of his other competitors. Marcus Winkelhock comes up to congratulate him and say, well, good job, we had a good battle, and clean racing between the BMW and the Mercedes, and both drivers will be satisfied at the end of the day with those podium positions.
Yep, so the cars will make their way back through to the pit lane, and we will hear from them in a few moments' time. We'll have the podium ceremony well, and these Slovakian fans have been treated to a pretty good race, actually. I mean, I know yesterday's race was good because of rain, because of all that drama that unfolded, but today, completely dry race, still brilliant entertainment.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is because it is actually an outstanding racetrack. The Slovakia ring, they've done a brilliant job, 5.9 kilometers, 3.6 miles, unlike a lot of contemporary racetracks which are very compact and not as long in distance. This allows these cars to stretch their legs. There are some really challenging high-speed corners, there are some challenging low-speed corners, but it's a good balance, and you've got a very, very long pit straight. It's got to be one of the longest pit straights of any circuit anywhere in the world.
And it's a fantastic circuit because they've built it with fast corners. The modern trend is to try and increase overtaking. A slow corner onto a long straight into a hairpin tends to be the kind of general attempt to create a modern circuit. But I mean, you were loving turn 2 yesterday.
Well, I think the whole circuit, I mean, it's very flat, other than those areas where we've got the float plats. There's 3 of them around the racetrack. Nevertheless, turn 1 is a medium speed corner, turn 2 is a fast corner, and imagine if the chicane wasn't there, how quickly they'd be entering turn 3. Then turn 9 in particular, probably my all-time favorite corner on the circuit, because it challenges the driver. It's not as quick as 2, but it makes you think it could be really, really quick. And then all the way down into turn 13 and 14. Longish corners put a premium on car setup, but gives the driver a feeling of this is what being a racing driver is all about.
Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman will be thinking this is what being a racing driver is all about. Victory in the championship race. The top of the championship they now move to. And the Vita for One racing team will also move up a couple of spots in the championship position after a strong 7th position for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Congratulations from BMW, who support the Vita for One racing team outfit in this GT1 World Championship Battle of the Brands. It's important for BMW to be seen to be up there.
It's a very important championship. It is a world championship, and you've got the prestige brands of all the manufacturers in the world presently, and a few others hopefully will be joining in the future. So there's joy for 2nd place. McLaren, Steph Dusseldorf did a great job. That pit stop, the release from the pit was compromised. His mum gives him a big smacker on the lips, and the release from the pit lane compromised, I believe, because it was a little bit slower than necessary to get it fired up. But of course, the Porsche cutting in across just at the point that Dusseldorf was getting away.
Let's hear from our race winners. Let's start off with Jelmer Berman.
Congratulations, Jelmer. You pushed hard all weekend and now finally a great result.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing. I mean, it was a good race yesterday. I mean, on the podium's always good. We had a little problem in the end, but and then to come back like this again on the next day, you know, to win, it's amazing. Really good.
Michael, congratulations. Now the both of you leading the championship.
Well, I mean, that's something which is very nice, of course. We go in for summer break, so we can relax a little bit on the beach. Not him, he has to go to the 24-hour Le Mans. But I do the homework for him at home, and we hope we come back in top condition in Portimao. I think the pit stop was super, and I think this victory is a big part of the crew. They had a tough weekend, no sleep, but I think this makes a difference, and when you look back to the other years, you know why.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the V down below to support the drivers as they go on the podium. Stick some of them at the bottom, then he'll jump. But let's have a look at. He's still going. He's still going. But Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels into the top position in the championship. It's a 3-week break now before the Slovakia ring, so not too long a break, not quite enough time to get down to the beach, but there's still work to be done.
Well, you can go to the beach en route to Portimao. Now, what I look forward to Portimao is those wonderful sweeping high-speed corners, especially onto start-finish straight.
Here's a look at the results. Jelmer Berman and Michael Bartels winning the race and moving into the lead of the championship. Makovic and Dusseldorf 2nd place, had the pace to win it. Didn't quite work out for them in the pit stops. Winkelhock and Basseng showed strong pace in their Mercedes. Then we had the Ferrari of Philippe Salaquada and Tony Verlander. Verlander's stint was somewhat quiet because he didn't really end up with anyone to battle with. Oliver Jarvis very, very quick in that WRT Audi in 5th position. Lawrence Vanthoor and Stefan Ortelli in 6th position. Unfortunately, we lost the number 2 Hexis Racing McLaren of Alvaro Parent, and Thomas Enger had to retire on the very 2nd or 3rd lap, I think it was, in the